Hi, yeah, can you hear me? Great. Hey, yeah, my name is Angelina. Originally from London, but currently in the countryside. Um, I've been in product for more than 11 years, worked with corporates and startups to launch and manage their apps and websites. So happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Angelina. Yes, hello everybody. My name is Chris Bracegirdle. I am a multiple startup founder. I'm a technologist. I have a machine learning PhD. So I've been doing AI long before it was cool. I mainly build companies using AI, machine learning in innovative ways. My first business was a data analytics business that we sold to Rightmove PLC, which is a company I'm sure you all will have heard of. On top of that, I do various bits of consulting and advisory work for tech companies, usually about how to harness and use their data effectively. Can't wait to get started and answer your questions. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Martin Ectis. I'm a multi-award-winning innovator. I've been innovating around new technologies and how to apply them to complex business problems. Worked for like the likes of Nokia Networks, Ubuntu, and I was Chief Innovation Officer for Legal in General. Lately, just like Chris, I'm doing very much AI, especially agentic, where I'm open sourcing a next generation platform.
Hi, Mark Stanton Bennett. Background in software engineering, astrophysics, then spent 28 years in financial markets, originally building tech and then running tech and product functions for investment banks and hedge funds. Left that world about 6 years ago and set my own strategic consultancy, and I've been helping start up and scale up businesses for the last 6 years, predominantly as a fractional CTO, CPO type role with some strategic board advisory on top of that. Thanks.
Absolute golden panel. Thank you very much to all 4 of you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Whilst people are getting ready to ask questions, hopefully, and do them live rather than send messages, what would you say are your biggest do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage building? Perhaps we can start with Martin, then we can go on to Mark, then Angelina, and last but not least, Chris, please.
Yeah, so too many startups go towards the solution, not focusing enough on the problem. You really need to understand the problem and in all its complexities. So talk to as many people that you find have a problem, find easy ways to get access to them, because that will be enormously important. Nowadays, AI can like write code and do a lot of things, but in this hyper social world, actually talking to lots of people and getting lots of people to hear about your solution is very hard. So don't build and they will come. Focus on solving real problems and keep your solution simple.
I think we said Mark, then Chris, then Angelina. Sorry. Oh, anyway, go ahead, Angelina, then Mark, and
No,
then
I was
Chris.
going to
And
say
that's right.
Mark anyways.
Mark, yeah.
Yeah, I can't get the run order right. That's not a good sign, is it? Product tech do's and don'ts. I do sound like a broken record. Anybody that knows me, I end up probably sort of focusing on the same thing that I end up focusing a lot. But it's really important. I think Anton mentioned it. You know, startups fail; they don't get the product market fit right. And as the last speaker
We
said,
keep making the same mistakes, Mark. So don't worry about feeling like you're repeating yourself.
Yeah, no, but it's important, right? It's important because it is one of the number one things that kills more businesses than anything else, in my experience, is not getting that product market fit right, which is, you know, sitting around the table deciding what you think your customers want, even though you've got load of domain knowledge and actually you put the products out there, it's not what they want, right? So it's really important that you get that product market fit, that you build MVPs fast, get your solution out there. You know, make sure that it kind of resonating with the customers and you're getting that feedback and you're taking that back and, you know, you're kind of iterating over that and getting something that actually people want to use. And I think, you know, that's kind of a do's and a don't, I think, in the kind of same thing, which is that's what you do. And, you know, that's what you want to do. But also, if you don't get it right, that's what you don't want to do. So I'll leave it there.
Cool, sounds good. I would say don't ignore your users. Your users are the crux of the product. They're the ones paying for your product at the end of the day. They're the ones who will make or break your business. I've actually seen some startups not focus on users. I've had few conversations with some founders and CEOs who don't care about users, and needless to say, their business is not really, or the app that they were trying to create is not around today. So the focus on, just don't stop focusing on your users. We all know that users may not have the answers to the problems or the solutions, but they're the ones that will give you the information that you need in order to find the product market fit and build the right solution. And then do fail fast. A lot of companies are spending a lot of money developing really complex tools and products, only to find out that users don't want or are not using the product, and then they waste a lot of money only to find out and fail within 2 to 3 years, whereas a lot of startups nowadays are trying to fail within a month to 2 months, to try and fail as fast as you can in order to get to that product market fit. That's it from me.
Thanks, Angelina. The curse of going last is that most of the things have already been said. And actually, Angelina stole my word, which is do focus. What do I mean by that? I mean, focus on the core product advantage that you are trying to deliver. So what is your value proposition in its simplest form? And that means limiting the functionalities, is doing the smallest amount you can that enables you to deliver quickly, and focus on getting something out right. It's not about completion, it's about getting something to work. And that leads me hopefully neatly onto don't. I'd say don't build too much, and definitely don't build in a vacuum. And what I mean by that, don't build the thing that you think everybody wants, but build the thing that people choose to use when you provide it. That's all from me.
Well, that's some amazing stuff from all four of you, and I really appreciate that. maybe a good idea would be, whilst I read out loud the question for those on the live streams, if the panelists wouldn't mind dropping their LinkedIn URLs in the chat and just a quick explanation, maybe. And actually, the others too, feel free to do so. It's not a bad way to connect during this Q&A, but especially the panelists. And the least we can do is, you're doing this for free. This is some amazing stuff, but maybe at least we can follow you on LinkedIn, if nothing more. Just a quick reminder now, we're going to go to some questions, but a quick reminder, I can see some people on LinkedIn and the other platforms. So whichever live stream you're tuning into right now, whether that's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please remember that we are unable to monitor your questions there live. So if you do have any questions for us, you'll need to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Quickest way to do that would be to go onto our site, startup2scaleup.club. You click join on our session today, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 159. You click join on that, then that's a quick registration, which gets you a link sent to your email. And through that link, you can join our audio call here on Microsoft Teams. Obviously, as you can see from the title, today we're helping startups with whatever questions you may have whilst building your early stage product and tech. So that could be anything from product roadmaps to design, prototype, testing, full stack, automation, low to no code, your app, your landing page, or launching your MVP, and anything in between or beyond for that matter. All you have to do is get here onto our Microsoft Teams call, drop your question in the chat, we'll give you the mic, and then you can ask the team. We are, however, only going to be here until 1 p.m. UK time. So that is 42 minutes. And we're only going to be here for another 42 minutes. Now, the first question we have, the panelists can read that in the chat if you like, here on Microsoft Teams. Our fintech app near Manchester helps users track subscriptions and expenses. But as more users log in simultaneously at the start of each month, the app becomes sluggish. I'm looking for guidance on early stage optimization techniques that would improve our performance during high traffic times. What are the best practices for anticipating and addressing performance bottlenecks to ensure a seamless experience, especially as we scale? Oh boy, that's quite a question. Maybe we can start with Mark, Chris, Angelina, and then Martin, please.
So being able to adapt to variable levels of traffic. I mean, the first thing to say is the approach we'd normally take is if you're utilizing, and I'm assuming everyone is utilizing some type of cloud-based architectural service at the moment. One of the major hyperscalers, Google, Amazon, Azure. What we normally tend to do is, from a DevOps perspective, that we're canary testing before we release. So we're doing scale tests and stress tests on the infrastructure before we release, effectively, so we can divert a certain amount of traffic in test to the various servers to ensure that they can take that load. And the design within the cloud infrastructure normally means that we're running effectively load balancing across our cloud services effectively, and those load balancers will then allow the infrastructure to scale under stress effectively. So if you're not using a cloud service, that becomes a whole different design paradigm. So I'll focus on the cloud services today. So that's normally the approach we take to cope with varying loads. It's quite a cost-effective way to do it, because you can spin up instances when you do need them, and then obviously spin them down when you don't, automatically within those services as well. So I think getting your cloud architecture right to provide that level of scalability within the services, I think is the way we normally approach this.
Hi, thanks, Mark. Yeah, I think getting your infrastructure and your stack right is critical. Mark's obviously talked about cloud services. I would really recommend considering, if you haven't already, a serverless architecture. So essentially writing Lambda functions to deliver all of your code. But what I would really encourage you to do is to deploy some observability to try and find out why it's slowing down. And there's various ways of doing that depending on your hosting provider, or you could rely on third-party integrations like Sentry that will track every request and then chart that and show you where the time is spent and why it's slowing down. There could be a number of reasons for that, but I would check, for example, the database infrastructure you're using and the reuse of the connections and this kind of thing. But yeah, I think the main thing is observability, so understand why it's slowing down, and then thinking very carefully about your platform and your architecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelina, and then Martin, please.
So from my perspective, definitely the first one, try and investigate to see, utilize the tools that there are out there. I think there's like Google tools as well that you could check site speed. And then I've seen a lot of corporates. So I've been in a lot of corporates that use AWS, and I know that they're good for scaling up and scaling down because they'll just allocate resources. And then of course Cloudflare does some load balancing, but then I'm not the expert, but those are the things that I know of.
So first of all, congratulations. You survived the first hurdle, which is like not having users. Now you have users and you got into the second stage. It's very normal to have performance problems. Even the biggest companies at early times of Twitter and Facebook, they all had performance challenges. And that's because you built something very quickly and dirty to validate that your product market fit. Now that you have it, you probably need to re-engineer some of your architecture. But again, keep it simple, focus on where the bottlenecks are. There are a series of performance tools that can help you generate load on a test system to see what the source is. If it's databases, I think Chris already mentioned this, but very likely either you're not reusing connections and then it becomes slow, or another source could be that a query hasn't got an index and as such has to scan through a very long list of things and becomes slower and slower the more items are in that table. If it's like multi-threading, then you're probably locking yourself in one place so the rest is waiting. If it's like infrastructure that's not scaling up with serverless, as was previously said, that can be the solution. So there's multiple ways, but as said before, observability is very important. So if you can do performance tests and then find the bottlenecks and then solve them one by one, and this is not going to be a one-off, this is going to be continuous, because if you get to 10,000 users, you might have a problem. If you get to 1 million, you have another type of problem. But these are good problems to have, and there's solutions for all of them.
Thank you very much to all four of you. Now, you'll have to forgive my ignorance, but I would have thought issues like this are not too difficult to solve by the whichever cloud service, and again, I'm assuming they use clouds, they would use. Is this something prevalent? Does this happen often?
Yeah, so it depends on what your problem is. If your servers are overloaded because you only have one and it's 100%, adding more servers solves it. If your database is basically scanning 1 million rows for every user that comes in, then it's not throwing bigger servers. It's indexes, and if it's your software is badly written and locking oneself out, also adding more servers will not help. So it depends a little bit what the origin is, but there's different parts that can be solved in different ways.
I hear you. Thank you, Martin. Anyone else? Anything else to add here, or we move on to the next question? All right. Just a quick reminder. Well, two quick reminders. Number one, if you're tuning in via the live streams, whether that's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please remember we are unable to answer your question and monitor your questions live there. So you would have to join us live here on Microsoft Teams. The quickest way to do that, either go through the links that you have on those live streams. I've posted links on all of them. Or probably even quicker, simply go on to our website, startup2scaleup.club. We then, well, once you get there, you can look today's session, look it up. It's Startup Product and Tech Q&A 159. You click join, it's a quick registration. That gets you a link sent to your email. Then through that link, you can join this audio call that we're having on Microsoft Teams. It's quite quick and easy, so feel free to do that. For those of you that are here, like Jamal just did, simply drop your question in the chat. I'll then give you the mic, and then you can ask the amazing panelists that we've got with us today. And it's literally as simple as that. We are, however, only going to be here for another 34 minutes. So please don't leave it for last second. I was about to go on to question 2, but since we have Jamal here, Jamal, are you audible? I've just given you the mic. Can you hear us, Jamal?
Yes.
Probably.
Hi. Sorry, just
Yes.
time to find the right screen.
Indeed, that's
Thank
okay.
you.
So
Thank
please
you for
feel
this
free to
invite again.
introduce
Yeah.
yourself. Introduce yourself,
Sure.
Jamal, and ask away, buddy.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm serial entrepreneur now, working in different startups and service provider company from France, UK, and MENA region, Middle East, North Africa. Just working in parallel with experts and mainly in health tech, clinical trial, as well as solutions. And then, yeah, my question is regarding this strategic decision that you just discussed about. What's the best time to take the decision regarding the right, not saying the right solution, because the AI companies generally are founded around a niche or how to say it, a solution that already we know about it, that it's helpful for our potential client. But in certain time, as the finance side, strategic side are pushing, and then we are trying to line up all these two factors that we need to produce to produce something to move forward with finance, with funding, and with other things. So, as per your experience and feedback, what's the best time to take this decision, or how can we continuously assess?
You mean the decision which cloud to use? I'm a bit puzzled here. Sorry, Jamal.
Yeah, no problem. My question, I know this is complex, it's not it's clear, but the decision about the right solution, as one of our panelists said, this is very insightful advice. So sometimes we look to what people want to use, not what people need to use. Sometimes this is a very important, a pivotal question as well. So our field is huge and large, and sometimes we have to take a decision anyway, if even it's painful for the development team or the project team. But as per your experience, what's the best way? Because we have the finance pressure.
What is the decision about? Are we talking about to choose which solution to use, about what service or cloud we use, or maybe about what features we take off or put on? Is there a specific decision we're talking about here, Jamal?
Yeah, it's the solution itself, because I mean, we can say that the landscape ecosystem is really decided because we are in full production. At certain time, how to say, the way how we are shaping the solution, the way or the sometimes as well the functionality.
Oh, you mean your solution as a startup? Your solution as a startup, what you're offering?
Yeah, the deliverable, I would say. Yeah.
I see. Okay, I think I get it now. All right. Well, thank you
Sorry.
very much for that, John. No,
You're
that's
welcome.
okay. I think before I pass you over to the experts, I think this
Mhm.
is a matter of starting from the very beginning before you even start building anything. Speak to as many potential clients, and there
Mhm.
will lie your answer most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. With that in mind, you need to get some commitment from your potential clients before you start building. Once you do that, then you'll see by keeping in constant conversations or whatever, however you want to have that engagement with your potential clients, then you'll realize whether what you have is working or not. And if it's not, you ask why. And they can give you all sorts of reasons. Now, obviously, some of those reasons may not be completely legit. So, in a way, you pretty much ask people to put money where their mouth is. And if they're willing to commit to whatever else you want to have, then you start looking into it. But the earlier you can prove yourself wrong, the better it is. And I saw Martin wanted to say something, but if you don't mind, Martin, this time we'll start with Angelina, then we'll go to Martin, then we'll go to Chris, and then we'll go to Mark. Angelina?
Yeah. I had a question. Is it Jamal? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
I wanted to ask, do you have any users at the moment?
Our mainly is B2B solution, but yeah, for a future solution that would be for patients. So we can consider that they are our user, but we haven't started yet. I would say the pilot phase with the final user. Yeah,
You haven't got any client. Okay, cool. So there's one
we have a client, but
person.
we don't have the user live yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because essentially decisions on solutions depend on whether you have any early stage user feedback, as what Anton was kind of saying. If you don't have the option to do any research or like get any live feedback from users, then you're kind of dependent on competitor research, which is what I'm doing at the moment, is looking at a lot of competitors and seeing their solutions, and then understanding where their weaknesses are, what features are out there already, so that you can at least start trying to build out your core product offering. And then you want to simplify the solution as much as possible, so you don't want it too complex. And then once you've got to a point where you feel like something is usable, is really up to you in terms of MVP. For some people, an MVP is a tire on a car, for example, or it's the full car kitted out with some nice shiny paint. So that kind of is up to you and what you think your users will be happy with, or potential clients will be happy with testing. Normally, we would look to go with prototyping first, before building out a full offering, because it could be quite expensive to hire dev teams. And then once you've have that prototype in your users' hands, you then can have video meetings with them, and really get some feedback and start utilizing that feedback to improve the product. And so you want that test and learn loop. So you want that feedback from those users. You don't necessarily take their feedback verbatim and then put it in the product, but you really want to be solving the solution, the problem that the user is having at the time. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Angelina. I think we said Martin, and then Chris, and then Mark, please.
Yeah, Jamal, I actually had a question before answering. So what's the problem you're trying to solve for whom?
So if you can recap, the problem is what part of our solution are platform. So this platform is used for different pathology or different disease. One of them we are expert on it, but we want it, for example, to leverage to use it as a generic solution. That's why I'm really we are not concerned, but we have this pragmatic side that, as you said, is good to provide what people like to use, not need to use sometimes, as this competitive landscape, highly competitive. Let's say that have this critical side saying, okay, we have pipeline, we have client, we have final user, and we are sure that they are going to use it because we have different prospects. However, to be more impactful for the final product, for me, this is the best philosophy for any CEO or any project director to have it, because we, as you said, for one of our panelists said, some CEO don't care about the user experience. So as well as for the finance side, because we need to deliver something to keep the finance running as well, and the company sometimes or project team justify the time. So yeah, this is just the point that's saying, yeah, what's as per your experience, the best time? I'm not saying only the best time, but the best methodology as well to keep engaging our project team and then keep the final user happy. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so basically what I understand is that you're trying to build a platform and not a specific product solution, which is one of the hardest things to do. I've built several platforms in the past. I'm building one now, because you don't have directly one-to-one mapping, and a good platform can be used for many solutions. And that's also some of the biggest problems. So one of the things I use, because I've worked in the past with Simon Wortley, is Wortley mapping. So Wortley mapping is about how to predict where technology is going and where the future of tech is going. And then by understanding that, you basically predict what tomorrow's problem is going to be. And as such, your solution focuses on that. But you then find customers that are at the forefront that already today want to work with you on subsets of that problem. Now, platforms are the hardest thing to do, especially if they're dual-sided marketplaces, because now you have to build like sort of multiple startups together. So if you can get away from that and make some very basic solutions for specific problems and make something embarrassingly simple for that first before you go towards a full-blown platform, that would be the actual route I would take, and not try to initially build a solution for everybody, because then you might not have a solution for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really our strategy, because we have already a client for one of application of this platform, but the platform is going to be used for different pathology, different discipline or disease. So I understand that. We are really aware about this risk. But yeah, this again, if we are investing or implementing the solution for new users, it's quite frustrating as well. I understand. But this balance between finance and decision-making strategy is very sensitive, critical for the business as well. That's why I have, go ahead.
So the other thing I would say is make a pluggable platform, so that you can work with plugins, so that like, hey, 5 customers come along, you end up making 5 plugins that solve a specific thing. So your base platform just runs plugins. So if you can do that, then you can have one platform that solves 5 different customer problems in different ways without having to build 5 different solutions.
Absolutely. That's exactly our strategy. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martin. I think we've got Chris and then Mark. Any thoughts on this, fellas?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting question. Thanks so much, Jamal. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're trying to build a platform, and I think you've got some really good advice there from Martin. I mean, what I would say is trying to take a modular approach. So build your core platform to be as generalizable as possible, so it can work across all of your target markets, and then building different modules on top. I think in terms of building modules, as Martin put it, I would even start simpler than that, and maybe you're already doing this, but start with that desk research, start with researching what's out there already, build a written product specification so that you can show to your other stakeholders in the business that this is what you're thinking of doing. And then before you build anything, do some wireframes, maybe build some clickable mock-ups, and see if you can get users just to interact with those, and you might get some signal from that. In an ideal world, you'll be making your decision based on data. What are they clicking on? What are they using? But if you don't have those users yet, that's very hard. So I suppose my question is, can you sort of simulate that data by producing clickable mock-ups, inviting people into video sessions where they interact with your clickable mock-up, and try and give you some signal about what they want?
I think it's feasible. It's really feasible for our prospect, because we are working with pilot sites, with pilot, healthcare institutions. So I think it would be quite hard about data protection, but I think part of our process is to get it in implementation phase. Use the sites as pilots, so they are certainly going to involve patient representative probably, or a healthcare professional minimum users to test it and have this preliminary feedback.
Yeah, so I would just try and stay super lean. Don't build until you at least have some signal that is the right thing to build.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris.
Absolutely. Mark, last but not least.
Yeah, so lots of good feedback from the other panelists. So I'm kind of going to steer away slightly from what's already been said, which is, again, there's been a lot of talk of making sure that you understand your customers' needs. It sounds like you're kind of getting there. Yeah, building generic platforms, it's a tough one, as other people have said. I'm going to take a step back and just to make the assumption that you've got the platform, you've got this utility infrastructure that can be used to implement different use cases for different clients. And so the way we'd normally go about this is you kind of take a step back, and it's really key then to kind of decide who you're going to go for next, right? And so it's sort of, there's a number of elements that you would look at in terms of, which use cases would you look to implement next? And I'm going to assume that once you've decided you're going to do that, you're going to do all the good stuff that's been shared today already with regards to engaging with customers, getting their feedback. But it's like, how do you make the decisions to decide where you're going to go next, especially when you've got the kind of this utility type platform? And so the first thing to say is, it has to be aligned with your commercial objectives, right? And so as someone who's worked in financial markets, the last type of customer you want to go after is a large investment bank or hedge fund, right? Because we are an absolute pain to sell to. Long lead times, right? Long lead times, heavy due diligence, right? And that potential long lead time could kill your business, right? Your cash flow could run out before you even get to the point where you could deliver us a solution. So go looking for those parts of the market, the sectors and the types of customers where you're a real white knight. You're going to solve a real problem for that customer. And you've got short lead time, short time to market, access to the customers, and you can really kind of add real value to what they're trying to achieve. So when you're kind of segmenting your kind of customer base, that's what I would be going for, and making sure that's aligned with your commercial objectives, right? Cash flow. You're going to be requiring future funding requirements as well. So all this stuff needs to be tied up in terms of how you go about deciding where you're going to go next. And I think the other thing to mention about that is, I'm going to throw something in, which is, again, a process that we've used heavily, which is, evidence-based prioritization, right? So obviously the commercial realities of running a startup need to go into that process when you're deciding what to do and where to go next. And you can take this down to a really granular level when you start looking at features as well. But it's like, we can get all this feedback from our customers, and I'm a fan of qualitative feedback, but you also need quantitative feedback. You also need to find data or get data that's going to back up the feedback that you're getting from your customers, because your customers are different people. They're human beings, right? You're going to get a different point of view from a different bunch of people. And sometimes it's really difficult to get clarity on what people actually want. And so if you use a sort of prioritization framework, we use qualitative and quantitative. So the way I'd normally go about this is like, if one person thinks this is a good idea, that's a low priority, right? If I'm getting the same feedback from different people, okay, it goes up the list slightly, right? Okay, that's good. We're getting the same feedback from different types of people. And then I'll be looking for data sources to back up what people are telling us, and if I can find data that backs up that hypothesis and it's being backed up by qualitative data, then, it goes up the prioritization list again. And then, of course, you put your commercial objectives on top of that. Which ones are going to deliver value back to you quickest, right? Because that's what it's all about at this stage of the business, right? You guys need to be making money, and so you can't forget that, when you're kind of trying to make these decisions. So that would be my kind of thoughts on this is, when you're looking to where to go next, make sure you're taking all these types of things into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, all, for a review. This is amazing. Last but not least, a quick input from me, Jamal. What I've seen work really well is either upselling or adjacent selling. What I mean by that is a bit on what Mark touched about. Rather than going from healthcare to I don't know, electronics or whatever, or investment banking, as Mark said, why not find something that you can actually upsell to those healthcare clients, or perhaps find something that their colleagues can make use of? That way, you also have a way in. You have somebody that might be able to recommend you to the right people, and so on. And if I had to, and I often kind of almost laugh at myself and think, why am I being so dumb? But whenever I'm talking to startups, in terms of their product roadmap, but also a go-to-market strategy, I'm always quite keen on them understanding that, look, until you're making about £1 million profits on whatever you're working on, don't start thinking about jumping into another industry or another something else. Really dominate what you've started with, because trust me, you have a much better chance at being recommended and getting more business if people know you, that, Jamal, it's the #1 startup for this really specific thing. Then, oh, Jamal's okay, they offer XYZ. So you really have a much better chance at really killing it if people know you as, the SHIT hot person, or startup rather, shall I say, on this specific stuff. So focus on doing really well on that. Or if you actually realize that you're not doing that well, move on to something else. But at least focus on one thing until you either kill it in a good way or you kill it in a bad way. That would be my go-to.
Okay. Much appreciated that, and thank you so much.
You're very
for this
welcome.
opportunity.
You're very welcome, and well done on what you've achieved so far. And please feel free to keep joining us, Jamal. We've got 12 minutes to go. So
With pleasure.
those of you that are for those of you that are on the live streams, please remember we're unable to monitor your questions. For those of you that are here on Microsoft Teams, and that's where everybody should get to, is quite simple. If you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, simply go to our website, startup2scaleup.club. Find today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 159. You click join. A quick registration gets you a link to your email. With that link, you can then join us here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only. Once you're here, simply drop your question in the chat like Jamal did. We then give you the mic, and our amazing panelists will give you the answers that work for you. Now, if your questions today are not on product and tech, and by the way, today we're trying to help founders with whatever you have on product and tech, that early stage part especially, whether it's product roadmaps, design, prototype, testing, low to no code, automation, full stack, back end, front end, launching your MVP, and anything in between or beyond for that matter. There literally are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. This is a learning curve for us all. If your questions are not on product and tech, then save them for the other events we run. Monday style, and Tuesdays, as you can see today, it's product and tech. Wednesdays growth, Thursdays fundraising. Second Friday of each month, it's UK startup law. And third Friday of each month, it's UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them by our site, startuptoscaleup.club. And actually, when you go to our site, we've got some amazing groups that you can join on WhatsApp. It's a community of founders, investors, and operators. Top and bottom of our site, you'll find that. And maybe you might also want to share this with other founders that you know, because the more, the merrier. And now, without further ado, we'll go on to another question that was sent in to us. I'm the founder of a fintech app in Wales focused on student budgeting, and we've received feedback that our app's appearance and behavior differ significantly between iOS, Android, and web versions. I'm considering whether to build a unified framework for Scratch or optimize each version individually. What would be the best approach for creating a seamless experience? And are there key compatibility issues to watch out for when managing finances across multiple platforms? Perhaps we can start with Martin, Chris, and then Angelina, please. And if we can try and keep it about a minute each, because I'd love to answer another question after this if we have time.
Okay, yeah, this is a slightly was it not a tough question, but it's differing functionality or different behavior across multiple mobile platforms. Yeah, I think this is a recurring issue. Obviously, the best experience for your customer is going to be building native apps, because there are differences between the implementation on those different platforms. However, I think that leads you open to a world of pain. And what you don't want to have is, in my experience, separate code bases or different code bases, and having to ship and maintain different versions of your software. There's definitely, I mean, I've just recently had this experience with a client actually, where we had Android and Apple apps and varying degrees of user satisfaction, specifically on the Android app. And we ended up unifying the code base, but using some specific tooling around the front end development tools that we were using that allowed us. So we went the other way, actually. We went back and effectively focused on the Android app, and then looked at implementing the same feature set to the Apple platform via these frameworks. And actually it worked better that way. So I think it's going to be a little bit of trial and error in terms of, like just discovering what features effectively are not behaving as you would like them to behave on those different platforms, then making the technical decision around what solution you're going to use to kind of bring those things into line. It's definitely doable. I don't think you're ever going to get 100% like native experience, but with a single code base. But I think the benefits of having a single code base over multiple code bases just outweighs that. So that would be my point of view.
Thank you very much. Martin?
Yeah, so I have in the past built applications both with React Native and Flutter, which seem to be sort of the two market leaders that attack this problem. And as was said before, it's not a new problem. It's been a problem for quite some time. Apple and Android are slightly different, and that's totally different from a desktop or a web app. Now, there's a couple of things to take into account. First thing is you need a unified backend, so one API for all. I'm assuming you have that, because otherwise you're going to be in a world of pain if like you see something on one platform and you don't see it on another platform. Then the next thing is if you want to simplify, you could go mobile versus desktop/web. What that means is that like you have a set of screens that if you're on a mobile device are different than if you're on a full screen desktop or web page. But unfortunately, you could also have like a browser on a mobile. So at the end, a unified solution might be your only option to really have it. What's the big difference? Well, if you're already doing React and JavaScript and so on, probably React Native is easier. It's very similar, not 100% the same, but similar. So moving to that would probably be a good step. If you want pixel perfect and have very difficult to do things with HTML, look at Flutter. Would be my suggestion. Both can really help you have a unified experience on mobile, desktop, even IoT devices.
By the way, React and Flutter, they're for mobile desktop, not sorry. Are they for the apps as well, or
So React
can they both?
Native, not React. So React
I see,
Native
React Native.
is,
Yeah.
it comes from
That's for native.
Facebook, and Flutter comes
Indeed,
from Google.
Yeah. Okay. So just all right. Last but not least, we've got two to go. I think Chris and then Angelina.
Yeah, thanks. And again, this is a really question. So I think already we've had some great advice. Ideally, you would have a unified code base for all of your platforms in the front end, and that can be difficult to achieve for the reasons that have already been mentioned. What I would say is your basic options are building a progressive web app, in which case you'll just have your JavaScript UI deployed across all of your platforms, or trying one of the different frameworks that help you build universal native apps. Flutter's already been mentioned. I personally have used Expo before. I think it's really good. It enables you to compile to native applications, but using a unified React Native API for your UI. Something that I would flag though is on the different platforms, I'm thinking mainly iOS and Android, people are used to different design philosophies and different design frameworks. For example, Google's material design on Android. It's just something to bear in mind. So, if you're bringing an iOS UI onto Android, that might be jarring too. But yeah, I definitely think the answer here is a unified app that can be deployed across all of the different platforms.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Angelina, please.
Yeah, having worked with apps for the past 11 years, definitely agree with what everyone's saying about having the unified code base. If you're a startup and they're not unified, you want to change that ASAP. The most popular I've seen and that I've actually used and released on the App Store is Flutter. I would recommend getting a design framework in place. So even if it's material, for example, you use one framework that you can utilize and personalize and customize across multiple devices. I've worked with apps across web, mobile, and TV. And having users use those apps across all the different platforms, you want to have the same features across every single platform. In terms of differentiation of platforms, some of them have different ways to use the apps. So, for example, Samsung has a back button on the phone. iOS, you require a back button on the app. That's a good example. But yeah, there's lots of different each platform does have its own differentiation in terms of user experience, but as long as you have one design for all of them, then your customer experience is going to be a lot better, and it's a lot easier from a coding perspective and releasing features and supporting your users from a product perspective.
Thank you very much, all four of you. Just one quick question from me, if we may. So I get that Android and Apple, they all want to have their own monopoly, but you're all techies, all four of you. Some more product, some more techie, but there is a technicality to it. What is one thing that is stopping somebody to come up with a coding platform where you can literally just build it and ship it out there, and it will have all the right bells and whistles on both platforms? What is one thing technical in your view that is stopping that? So maybe we can start with Martin, since you've unmuted, Angelina, Chris, and then Mark, please.
So the one thing that's stopping that is actually, and mainly Apple doesn't want that to happen. So Google and Apple are in fierce competition. So Apple has been like doing things like, hey, if you use Bluetooth, you can connect to devices, but it cannot be an Android phone. Or if you use this or that, then we detect it's Android. We don't allow you to. So basically, there's actual in the platforms solutions to make it that doesn't happen. And this
Basically,
mhm.
sorry, is this the case where if somebody actually, with the way things work at the moment, came up with it, what you reckon will happen is Apple will still come up with a way to stop people doing that? Is that what you're saying, pretty much?
Well, they make it almost impossible for some things to collaborate correctly with Android. So if you make a mobile app, you will not be able to get to certain things so that you can connect correctly to Android. And those things are like related to the stack for networking or to other type of things, and that's on purpose. They also often like hide functionality away from third-party apps that they use in their internal apps. Now, both of these things have been flagged by the European Commission, and they have done the Digital Act, something Act, I forgot the middle letter, and Apple is at risk of losing up to 10 to 20% of its annual revenues if they get convicted of like doing this on purpose in the future. So Apple is like launching new things in Europe that are slightly different than the rest of the world. And again, that's not solving it. Like I think Apple is trying to hold on to 30% monopoly in the wrong way, and we still have to suffer that until like lawmakers will stop this from happening. AI can help a little bit because there's lots of applications that help you generate things that would like generate for Apple and for Android. But in general, it's a provoked problem, not a problem that just came to happen.
Thank you very much. Did anyone else want to add anything else on this? If not, we can start with some parting words. Maybe we'll start with the lady of the house, and then Mark, Chris, and last but not least, Martin, please. Angelina?
Sorry, I just realised I'm the only lady. Rome wasn't built in a day. Keep going. It does take time and effort. Some startups don't start bringing in revenue for 2-3 years. But yeah, keep going. Keep failing fast as much as you can, and keep listening to your users because they're the most important ones.
Thank you very much for that. I think we said Chris, Mark, and then Martin, please.
Yeah, thanks. So parting words. Like, I would just say congratulations on getting going and building a startup. Building something from scratch is one of the hardest things that you can do, and having the will to build a thing is a phenomenal thing. And keep going, keep testing your market, and keep on building. And if you keep on going and keep going way beyond anyone else, and eventually you just might win.
Thank you very much, Chris. Mark, please.
Yeah, actually, I just my thoughts around this is an experience of this is like, as a startup founder, sometimes that can be a lonely business, or you feel like you've got to be the one to take it on and do it all. It's your idea, it's your business. So, founders out there, think about maybe co-founder, to take some of that load, that mental load, that kind of physical load as well, because you can't do everything. You can't do it 24/7, 365. It just won't work, right? The other thing is, get some experience around you. There's plenty of ways of doing that today. You hear the term fractional being bandied around a lot, but getting the right experience around you, filling those gaps, either technical or commercial, marketing, sales, whatever it is, and to ensure you've got the best chance of making your business work. But as the last speaker said, good luck.
Thank you, Mark. Last but not least, Martin, please.
Yes, so basically, I think a lot of good things were already said. Fall in love with your problem, not your solution. Perhaps don't give up a day job too quickly. If you haven't done so, don't give it up. Or like if you're bootstrapping, try to do some fractional consulting work to keep your finances going, because it will take longer than you expect. So if you can get some money in through other ways, then like it gives you more time and focus very much not necessarily on your solution, but on how you're going to sell and to whom you're going to sell, because sales is a lot harder nowadays than building a solution.
Thank you very much for that, Martin. And talking of sales, tomorrow it's our Startup Growth Q&A, where we've got 4 amazing panelists that will try and help you with whatever it is to do with growing your business, whether it's user, vendor, partner, client acquisition, growth hacks, sales, marketing, advertising, branding, and all that jazz, really. Quick reminder, 2 quick reminders rather, shall I say. Number 1, we run 6 regular events per, trying to help founders basically with whatever questions you may have as you build your business. And hopefully we'll find a way to help you go from startup to scale up. Those sessions are Monday, talent, Tuesdays, product and tech, Wednesdays, growth, Thursdays, fundraising, second Friday of each month is UK startup law, and third Friday of each month is UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site, startuptoscaleup.club. Now, when you go to our site, you may also want to join our WhatsApp community. We've got some amazing groups of founders, investors, and operators that you can join. I've actually put the link of that in the chat. But also on our site, you can RSVP to any future session. As far as my parting words are concerned, just remember the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter too. Otherwise, huge thanks to especially our 4 amazing panelists. Thank you to everyone else that tuned in, and especially those of you that made it onto the Microsoft Teams call and asked questions. For those of you on the live streams, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, hopefully you've learned your lesson. And next time, hopefully tomorrow for Startup Growth, you'll join us here on Microsoft Teams instead, because unfortunately, we cannot monitor your questions there live. So again, have a great day and God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.